Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. For anyone who's watching this live, thank you so much, Bruno, for attending. And for whoever is going to watch this in the replay, thank you so much for being here. I'm Madhurima Sappatti, a global stress management facilitator who loves to support multi passionate, ambitious dreamers manage the stress and prevent burnout so that they can do all the things they want to do without their own selves holding them back on a mission to make stress management fun. A part of that mission is an amazing event that we are going to be hosting in May 2024 called Freedom Fiesta, in which Cara Wilson is a speaker. And I just wanted to kind of bring her in the space and introduce you guys to her, give you a sneak peek of her amazingness because, get me, guys, I'm being real, she's amazing as hell. So, without further ado, Cara, go ahead and introduce yourself, my love. Super
Yes,
excited.
hello. Well, I'm Cara Jean of Taking CARA Business, and I can't think of nicer things to say than what was already said about me. I do leadership development. I help make leadership simple. Oh, Amanda's here. I help make leadership simple, and I network the path between taking care of me and taking care of we, the same way that I help executives network the path between operations and leadership.
Love
It's
that.
all about working together to accomplish more.
Love that, love that, love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, today's topic is about leadership and stress. Now, Kiara obviously is amazing when it comes to leadership and supporting leaders. She's an executive coach who loves helping people take care of their business. And I love helping people manage their stress. And we were like, hey, I feel like there's a lot of synergy here. So let's give people what they want. Let's create a small workshop to talk about leadership and stress. Let's get started. Kiara, I want to jump right into this and ask you, what does leadership mean? Because I feel like we have a lot of meanings in there, but what does it mean?
Well, and so I guess that I didn't look up any of the definitions, which, if I were an adult, better adult, I might have gone and done that. I didn't, though. For the purpose of this space, I think what we will really use as the definition of leadership is the difference between leadership and management. So when you manage things, you manage products, you manage the plant, you manage process. And people then think that you can manage people, but you don't actually have any control over them. So you can manage all kinds of things, but you can only lead people. So for the point of this, leadership is the act of leading through relationship, managing through relationship.
I love that. That's so good. Oh my gosh, that's so good. All right, I'm gonna hit pause here and I wanna ask you guys, do you have any questions regarding this? Because we would love this to be a very interactive space. So if you do have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. I'm gonna give you guys a second here if you have any questions.
I just love the differentiation between leadership and management because I wasn't aware of it. It's a beautiful distinction.
Love that, love that, love that. Awesome. So let's jump into this. We have an understanding of what leadership is. Let's have a conversation around what stress actually is because I feel like we have a lot of definitions about stress out there. We all feel stressed from time to time, but I just wanted to kind of set a proper foundation based on the amount of knowledge I have. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know, guys. I'm always excited to learn. But from all the research papers that I've read, stress is technically a physiological reaction to fear or to things that our body and our mind perceives as a threat. So it's a physiological reaction to perceived or real threat, and it's a way for us to survive, right? It's a way for us to get out of the situation, whatever that threat might look like, and get into a place where we are safe. Oftentimes, when we are stressed or when our mind thinks that, hey, that's a threat, we need to get out of this, we don't even have the recognition that we are entering the stress response. So our fight flight freeze response is pretty quick. And I feel like a great example for this would be, imagine you are in traffic, you're crossing the road, a car zooms past you, it's about to hit you by this much of a distance. Your immediate reaction would be to just move outside of the way, right? That happens even without us realizing that we're doing that. A lot of times, or all the time, stress is something that happens automatically. However, the mission that we are on here in the space right now is to recognize that even though stress happens automatically, it doesn't need to be the fact that, oh, hey, you know what, I'm stressed out, so I'm going to stay in the space until I get out of it, right? We have the power to take back that power from stress and get to a place where we are able to take care of ourselves better, right? We don't have to be stressed out. We might jump into the stress reaction automatically, but we don't have to stay there. So that's the importance, and that's the reason why we are creating this space, just to build awareness on the different areas where we feel stress and we experience stress in our day-to-day life. With that, Kara, anything else you'd like to add, or anyone else would like to add anything in the space?
Oh, I'm totally going to loop in Bruno and Irina for this. So Bruno and Irina, shameless plug, we do a Learn podcast in the evenings. It'll be 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time today. Come check that out. But they have done this with me before. So scientifically, there are actually 2 types of stress. Yeah. One is good and one is bad. And we don't ever think about that. So Bruno, Irina, do you guys remember what the terms for good stress is?
That's the eustress.
Yes. Like euphoric stress. Yeah. The entire concept that, so if a car is coming at you, you want to move. Yes. That would be distress. That would be distressful. That would be bad. But let's say that you're driving a car and you're going around cones. Well, that's good. It's still stressful. You still can't hit the cones, but you're learning, you're growing, and no small children are going to die in the cone situation.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you brought that up, Kara, because we have a question based on that from Stefan, who put it in the comments. So I'm excited to bring that on. But I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. I feel like that's a really important distinction to understand. Like, there have been controversial topics around this concept that, hey, how can stress be good? Because stress is, I feel like there is a lot of negative connotation around this word. There's a lot of negative meanings around this word, and stress is important, because if stress wasn't there, we would be dead long, long, long ago. Like, we wouldn't even be here. Stress is important because it guides us and it gives us the memories that, hey, the next time you see a lion, don't go and try to pet it, run away, right? Because that's potentially what someone did, one of our ancestors did, and then they were dead, and then they were like, okay, yeah, so maybe if the lion is chasing us, you run instead of trying to be like, hey, come give me a hug. That's not gonna, that's not gonna end well for any one of us. So
I'm
stress
totally
is
envisioning a caveman being like, kitty.
yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. And yeah, and to be honest, I would implore you guys to check out the stress productivity curve. I don't know if you have, and if you have checked it out. For anyone who's watching the live or replay, I'm also gonna link it in the comment section. One of the videos that I made on this concept, where they talk about how without motivation or without stress, you would be in a space called bore out, where there's no motivation to do anything. You don't have the stress to get up, right? This is what happens to a lot of people who retire, because they don't have any motivation. They've been working for so long, and then suddenly they are in a space where they don't have anything that's powering them on, and so they end up experiencing the same exact symptoms as burnout people do, right? So that's insomnia, that's anxiety, that's not feeling motivated enough to do anything, right? So that's a space called bore out. But when you start to get a little bit of stress, it starts to push you towards the comfort zone, the zone where you're like, oh yeah, you know what, let's say I can write an article in 3 hours, and it's a topic that I'm aware of. My boss comes in and tells me, you need to write an article in an hour. That's still a part of my comfort zone, because I'm aware of the topic, and I've written articles similar to this in, let's say, 3 hours. So it's good stress that's pushing me. That's the use stress concept. There does come a point where we reach the very peak. That's when the peak performance happens, where our productivity and our stress is at a really good high, right? It's the top of the bell curve. This can be similar to you having to submit your assignment at 12 o'clock at night, and you're sitting down to write it at 11 and getting it done in an hour, right? A assignment that you potentially had to do for 3 months, you were aware of it, you're getting it done in an hour. Snap, 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 boom, and it's gone. Your productivity is at a peak. Beyond that, if the stress starts to pile up, that's when it starts to kind of go down the drain. You start to feel fatigue, you start to feel irritated. That keeps going on. You end up reaching a point called burnout. Too much stress for a really long time. And so I love that you brought that up, because I feel like there needs to be an understanding that stress can be good. And the reason I'm talking about this and I'm so passionate about this is because I feel like leaders often try to motivate their employees, and that's good. But you need to understand that motivation is a way to kind of add positive stressors in their space so that they get excited to do the work. However, if your employees are burnt out, that's just way too much stress for them to handle, because they're not in a position to accept that motivation. They want to do it, they don't know how. There's too much on their plate. And so that's one of the things I often tell people, that hey, if you're a leader and you're trying to motivate your employees, make sure that they're not too stressed out, or make sure they're not too burnt out to the point where any motivational thing is just going to make them roll their eyes and hate you more. But yeah, I spoke a lot. Cara,
No,
Bruno,
my God, I
do you have
loved every second of it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it entirely. So I talked about the me we concept, right? This is one of the spaces that I spend a lot of time. When people hire a leadership coach or an executive coach, they're expecting that good stress, right? That they're going to get pushed and they're going to get pulled and they're going to be stretched and they're going to learn more things and be able to do more things and their productivity is going to skyrocket, which is absolutely factual. However, it seldom starts that way. It usually starts with a whole lot of slowing down, stepping back, getting a better view about what's going on, and making some me decisions before we move into what we're doing with we. And then we teach our leaders how to do that for somebody else, how to go up to somebody and say, genuinely, how can I support you? What do you need? So that they can figure out how to take some of the stress away so that there is room for that good stress. Because you're 100% right. In the fight for productivity, we have developed this hustle culture, this need to do more, be more, longer, harder. Even when we are off work, we're not off work. We're trying to hang out with our kids at the park, but we're thinking about that merger and what would be the best way to navigate the conversation with that person. You're with your kid at a park, focus. But we can't, because we're so pulled apart, and we have been trained, we have been groomed to look for that stress, to feel like we are not accomplishing enough unless we're in that stress. And that's part of the thing that I'm working on rewriting, is that we often think in terms of good or bad. And in emotional intelligence, they've taken those two topics away and they refer to it as productive or unproductive, because sometimes being unproductive is the most productive good thing that you can do.
Yes. Oh my god, I love that. I love that. I love that. Oh, and that's so true. I feel like there needs to be an understanding that we are not robots, and stresses do bleed in. Stress from your family life is going to bleed into your personal life, into your work life, and all of these things tend to blend up. There needs to be an awareness of that. And so I think I have honestly told people that oftentimes they are burdened by the responsibility of being like, I have a big project going on, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to spend time with my child, even though I don't want to. And so that's added frustration, that's added stress. And I'm like, why? Spend time with yourself, get back to normal, and then when you feel like it, go ahead and do that. It's important to recognize when you need to take that step back, just like Cara said. And oh, I wanted to say something else. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Rest is so important, you guys. I can go on and on about rest, and I feel like sometimes rest is not given enough importance, and sometimes it's given way too much importance. What do I mean by that? Sometimes when rest is not given enough importance is when we are right in the middle of a project, we feel like we are losing our mind, we feel like we can't do anything, and so we are doing too many things. In moments like that, taking a break is really important to allow your brain to be like, okay, you know what, I see that you're struggling, I notice that, I'm going to take a step back, we are going to do something completely random that's going to help us come back to normal, and then we are going to work at this problem again. Taking that break to calm down is one of the most productive things you can ever do, even though it feels like it's counterintuitive. And like, what's the point of taking a break when I'm already struggling and I'm short on time? Like, no, 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 take that break so that you can get things done quicker. The moment when rest is given way too much importance is when people think that, oh, my employees experience burnout, so I'm going to give them a 2 week break every year for them to enjoy their life, right? Yes, amazing. They got back to normal. Now they're back in the same exact space that you have created that stressed them out and burned them out in the first place. And so you gotta give, it's, rest is not the cure for burnout. Rest is a part of the process of burnout relief and coming back to normal, but it's not the entire cure of burnout. You need to work on what caused the stress in the first place. which is why I feel like that's where the synergy between me and Kara also occurred, where we realized that okay, there is one aspect of it that's fixing ourselves, and then there's another aspect of it which is fixing the business, so that it's coming together as a whole to kind of ensure that employees are not burning out and you as a leader is not burning out. So yeah,
I love that. I'm going to leverage Bruno and Irina in this spot. So
yes.
Bruno is a copywriter. And my question is, how often when somebody hires you as a copywriter, is their first thought, now I can do more in business, or now I can go home at night?
What was the question?
So
Sorry?
when people hire you, when business owners hire you to take some of the stress away from, right, so that you're doing the copywriting, are they excited because now they can focus more on different things at work, or are they excited because now they can go home at the end of the day and actually relax?
Well, they don't open up with me about it really. But I will kind of like assume that a normal person that values rest more than being overworking themselves will probably be like, and I think that's why that will probably value more, like being able to rest. Because I mean, I think that's exactly why, you leverage and you diversify the people that you work with to then get more time for yourself. I mean, like, if you have a business and you're used to doing everything by yourself, and then suddenly you get married and then you have kids, you don't have time to be with your family. Probably you're gonna hire somebody that to do that same thing for you. So now you have a couple of hours free, right? I think that makes total perfect sense. And on top of that, it is a business, right? And at some point, you gotta have to diversify because you can't do everything by yourself. So
That's it. So that's one of the greatest stress relievers, right? Let somebody else who has that area of genius, that person who can, when you're like, I need an email in the next 40 minutes, they're like, I'll get it to you in 20. Because that's where his genius is, right? And that allowing somebody else to use their genius takes your stress away. That's what leadership is. That is choosing to leverage the relationships around you for your better best. Yeah. And then I'm going to go to Irina. So Irina is a manifestation coach. And here's my question. When people want to manifest, and I'm going to throw out some random ones that I've heard, but like freedom and flow, what are the spots where you actually start working with them on?
That's a good one. First of all, to have the vision, right? Because if there is no vision, there is no direction where they are going. So, what does the freedom and the free flow for them mean, right? Because it's important for them to see themselves in that space as well as feeling those emotions. Because obviously, when they are going to be free, and it's like one of the sections we are working on for people to have the time and money freedom, right? Because a lot of times people tend to have more time than money, or vice versa. They have a lot of time, but they don't get a time to enjoy this money, right? So time and money freedom balance is also very, very important. So when I ask people, they have to see themselves in that situation where they have that freedom, right? Freedom of spending the time the way they want to, whether they want to spend this time more with the loved ones, or traveling, or doing things for the cause, right? Exactly, to visualize themselves in that type of situation that brings the positive emotions to them. And that's exactly where they start that work on themselves, understanding what exactly they want to achieve. And the main idea is to get them into that frequency rate that they experience it as of now, right? Because everything is created here and now. So don't wait when I gonna have that time and money freedom, but be that person. Put on that energy on yourself today. I am that person that has time and money freedom, and I'm gonna act as that person. And that's where the stress comes to the play, right? Like, you cannot stress yourself out if the results are not what you expect them to be. As long as you know that you're on the right path, as long as you know you're working, you're doing what has to be done, and you're constantly improving, because the journey itself is beautiful, not just the destination. So just enjoy yourself in that beautiful journey, and the success is going to meet you.
Oh my God, yes.
I
Right?
love- yes.
I'm gonna pass it back to you in a sec, but I'm gonna rephrase that in leadership and stress language, right? So what I heard is if you want to lead people, including yourself, to a place of less stress or freedom or flow, you have to slow down and get a clear vision of where you're going first. Like that's step one. That's step one with me too. Get some clarity. Like that has got to be that very first step. Same thing with Bruno. We're like, tell me what you need your copywriting about. Slow down. Tell me what you need. And then I loved that Arena brought up the difference in resources. So time and money. And I throw in energy, right? But those three, we get so fixated on one, like, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I need more money. And don't realize that we have all this time and energy we could leverage to make that happen. And so we stress one section rather than looking at the entire whole. And that's the difference with leadership. If you are managing a process, it's all about understanding where things are. If you're managing a plant, it's all about making sure you can pay to keep the lights on. But when it's about leading people, it's about balancing and leveraging resources. And that can both be stressful and a stress reliever, which then is where I segue up to Madhurima to talk to us about that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love all the things that was mentioned in this space. And I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what I heard Irina say and what it sparked for me. And Kara, you kind of created a really wonderful bridge for that conversation to happen. Is a lot of times I have noticed that with leaders and with us as individuals, we have that concept of when I have, then I will, right? And so in scenarios like these where it's like when I have the money, when I have the freedom, when I have ensured that my team is working really well, then I'll take care of myself. I feel like, oh, this is so important. I feel like oftentimes really good leaders get so focused on helping their team get better that they forget about themselves, right? And in scenarios like this, there is always that concept of when I have made sure that my team is perfectly functioning, then I will. Guess what? Challenges are gonna come up, especially if you're progressing really, really well, especially if things are going your way. There are going to be new challenges. There's never going to be a perfect team. When is going to be the right time for you to take care of yourself? Oof. But yeah. Awesome. Kara, I want to ask you this because you have worked with a lot more leaders than I have ever in the 3 years of my my running this business. I wanted to ask you this: what are some of the reasons why leaders get stressed out?
Yeah. Well, so you pretty much nailed the number one on the head. It's the when, then. I hear that so many times in leadership. When I have, when I am, and whether it's personal leadership, when I'm smart enough, when I'm skilled enough, when I've done this long enough, when I've worked with enough leaders, then I'll be ready for that thing. Or you hear it in teams, when my team has what they need, when things get easier, when things slow down. um, I have a phrase, and I mean, Bruno and Irina have heard it. I'm certain that you have as well, Madhurima. I say it 40 times or more a day, which is life. Am I right? Come on. Because you know what life loves to do? Life all over what plans you had. Whatever great idea you were like, this is it. It's going to be so easy. When I have this, it's going to be good. Life is like, really? But that is literally the nature of humanity. I mean, all we have ever done in our life is change and grow and be stressed and adapt. From being a newborn child, learning to walk and read and talk, to going to adapting from a home unit to having to interact with other humans out in the world and learn what their expectations are, balance those against us, to growing up and adulting and figuring out that you have to make all the rules, which is actually awesome, but also completely terrifying because you have to do it all day, every day, forever. That's exactly the same as going through business. You start and you're in operations. You're like, yeah, okay. Everybody knows what they're doing better than I do. I'm gonna figure this out. You get it figured out. They're like, oh, good, we'll promote you. And you're like, okay, now I'm managing. Now I'm in that space. Now why is everybody else such a giant challenge? What's wrong with you guys? And then you're like, oh no, I know how to work together. And then you're in leadership and you're like, oh well, that's just how business is. That's just how the market is. Oh, that's just how life is. And we create these very valid belief systems around things that have gone right or wrong in our life. And the ones that we create around the ones that have gone wrong, we reinforce and create more stress based on that BS, based on that belief system. So I'd say those are like the top three. When, then, life. Life. And then the BS that we choose and don't even realize we're choosing.
I love that. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. Now, show of hands, how many of you have experienced all, okay, actually one at a time. When then? How many of you have struggled with this and have experienced stress because of this? All right. How many of you have struggled with life? Oh my gosh. And oh, I forget the third thing, which was really important. The BS. Oh, the BS. All me. If my name was BS, it would have made a lot more sense because instead of MS, oftentimes I'm in that BS space. Oh my god. All right. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna bring out some cool fun strat. Cara, you're enjoying this. You're having a go at it. You're like, oh my god, you're gonna rename
I'm so glad I
Madhurima.
was muted because I snort laughed so hard right there with BS versus MS. Oh, I died. I died right now. Okay, we're back. We're back. Focus.
It's okay. We can have laugh breaks. I enjoy laugh breaks. It helps with stress. Um, all right, we're gonna bring in some strategies. I'm gonna throw in a strategy for all the three pointers, and then Cara, Bruno, Irina, anything you wanna add on to that? Accepted. Would love to hear your thoughts. The very first thing is when then. I feel like in a scenario like this there is often the concept of control. How much control do I have and how much do I need to control? And do they want me to control all of these things? Control becomes a really big thing in a scenario like that. And I feel like there needs to be a good balance between what can I do and what do I need to let go of for flow to occur. And I'm going to go a bit woo woo in this, but I feel like oftentimes in scenarios like this, it's balancing the masculine and feminine, where the masculine is, oh, we need a structure, we need order, and the feminine is, I need flow. I'm going to be creative as hell, and you guys are going to enjoy it, right? And so I feel like there needs to be a good amount of balance between what structures do I need to create and what do I need to let happen to ensure that whatever needs to happen is happening. Because in scenarios like that, when you allow that balance to occur, you also need to have the trust factor, the trust that I can fix if something goes wrong, my team members can fix something that goes wrong, we can come together, brainstorm, and come up with a solution to ensure that this doesn't happen again, and what are some plans we can create for the next time something like this happens. So my strategy, if you're stuck in the when and then scenario, is to ensure that there's a good amount of balance of understanding what you need to do and understanding what you need to let go of. Creativity does not occur in boxes. Believe me, I've stayed in a box pretty much all my life, a box of my own creation, and I was like, I don't like this. I gotta get out. And then when I got out, I went full off, right? Like I was crazy creative. And then I realized that, we're floating away. We need to come back. So there needs to be a good amount of balance between ensuring that we have a container that can contain our creativity and ensuring that we can be flowy as well. And so I think that is at the very core of the when and then. Hi, Brenda. Thank you so much for being here. We are just talking about the different stressors that leaders go through. And the very first stressor that we spoke about is the when I have, then I will. And the strategy that I mentioned was ensuring that there is enough balance between, oh, I forgot. It went off my head. Oh, Brenda left us. No worries.
Masculine
Uh,
and feminine.
Masculine and feminine, yes. uh, Enough balance between what we need and what we need to let go of, and having trust to ensure that we can still go through this, ensuring that we have everything we need to fix whatever situations come up. Cara, what do you have to say about that?
I love that. So I'm essentially going to share the exact same tool, but with different language. Because I firmly believe that most things are exactly the same in a completely different way. So I would call that the hashtag magic 3. When you look at life, there are two things, right? There are things that you can control and things you cannot, like the weather. So if you let go of the things you cannot control, there's only 3 things in life: the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you behave. And if you jack back your energy, jack back your time on all those other things that don't center around those magic 3, you'll have resources to do the things that you need to do. And then another thing that I heard you saying there that I loved was the support space, right? So one of the things that I say a lot and train on is, if I trust me to fix, then I can support you to try. And that's a huge leadership de-stressor. You have to learn to trust yourself to know that you can, what if things go completely sideways? That is 100% not the first time that's happened in your life, because if you're a human being and if you've reached adulthood, you've already accomplished everything going sideways more than once. That's factual. That's just part of being a meat suit. Welcome. So as long as no small children die and nothing explodes, odds are you can fix it. And if you can fix it and you know that you can fix it, then you can help somebody else try. And that's where leadership and stress come together.
Ooh, I love that, because I think this was one of the things we once spoke about, Cara, a long, long time ago, was how oftentimes leaders, especially those who are really passionate about what they do, right? They get hooked on and they bring everyone along that emotional turmoil journey. And in scenarios like that, it becomes crazy because there is no space to make mistakes. There is so much fear around making mistakes. And I loved what you said. I can trust myself to fix it. And that's why I can allow, I'm paraphrasing here, Kara. You can say that again. But I trust myself to fix it, and I have enough space to ensure that my people can give it a go, give it a try to whatever they need to try. So yeah.
This is a spot I end up having to work with realignment on a lot of leaders and a lot of businesses in general. There is what we say our values are, and then there is what we actually do with our values. And most companies value the failure verbally. They absolutely know that that is the best way for a person to learn, is to make a mistake and have somebody there to help them get through that mistake so they know what not to do next time, right? Logically. But in real life, we'll say those things, we'll talk. But when it comes to walking the walk, we'll reprimand and get reactive and discipline and hunt down and stop talking to people who make mistakes. So while we say we absolutely want you to learn because that's how you get better, we want you to be better, then you do it. And we're like, why did you fail? You're such a mess up. And let me tell you, that doesn't make people want to go out and try.
I absolutely love that. Bruno and Regina, do you have anything to add on to that? And Brenda as well. I know you joined us towards the end of this session, but towards the end of this particular concept. But yeah, do you guys have anything to add on to that?
I have something to add actually. I have something that happened with me, and I can totally give that example because it's just I totally reminded myself of that. So like when I was working in McDonald's, like, I was in university like the past years, and like I was working in McDonald's, and like my boss was kind of a like shithead. So and it was like what literally what would come out of his mouth wouldn't be the same thing that would come out of his actions, right? His behavior didn't match his words, which smelled like a lot of hypocrisy. And it it kind of like I think like you were not only dealing with a narcissist, but like you were dealing with somebody who couldn't let his emotions not overpower his intelligence, and that really reflects on the way you speak to the people that you're leading, right? And I think like all that you said was like that example, right? Was like like saying all that, but then like you're not even able to push like your client, not your clientele, like the people you're managing, right? And technically leading, although like you said as well, leading is different thing than management, right? um, but yeah, right, like not even being able to push, like the people that you're leading and managing like aside, not knowing how to talk with them, not knowing what the words to use, the tone you should speak, right? I think all those things, they really defines a leader, right? um yeah, and yeah, that's kind of my part. Thank you.
Love that, love that, love that. Kara, what is your biggest tip to kind of ensure that there is that alignment occurring between what's being said and what's being, just so that anyone who's facing, I feel like leaders and team members who's facing that can then bring that suggestion in a safe and healthy way. What is your biggest tip for that?
So and it seems too simple because it is, but it actually really, really works, which is literally just to say it out loud. And the challenge, the thing that makes that so hard is it is uncomfortable to be the one that shines a spotlight on things that aren't not going the way they. When your boss is yelling at you in front of a bunch of people, you're not going to think, how I could help him be better. That's not the first place that your brain goes. If you're anything like me, it usually goes to words you can't say out loud because kids might be watching. Yeah. And so being able to go back to that hashtag magic 3, the things you can control, you don't get to control that other person being crazy. There's not enough duct tape on the planet, my friends. There's not. So instead we control ourselves. And in that situation, in any of those situations where something is happening that doesn't seem the way that they say they want it to happen, you literally can just say out loud, this seems weird. It seems like you're yelling at me in front of a bunch of customers. Does this seem like a good use of our time? And it's not necessarily confrontational. I often will be taken that way, but when you literally all you are doing is shining a spotlight on something, be like, can we look at this? And when people have to look at some of our behaviors under a spotlight, we're like, you're right, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Let's fix it. Yeah, because people want to fix.
Love that, love that, love that. Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh. We definitely, I feel like we can go on this particular strategy because there's so much to uncover here, right? Like there's way too much to uncover here, especially that I felt like when you said that, even though I wasn't in the opposite side of the person who was listening to this thing, I was like, oh, I would hate it if someone said that to me. When I was in that angry mode where I'm reactive to everything, I would hate that, right? And so I feel like we can go on and on. And so if you want us to go on and on, drop any questions that you have in the comment section below whenever you're watching this replay, and we'll get to it. Cara or I will get to it. Just to be conscious of everyone's time here, let's move on to the second thing that we had, which was, oh, Cara, I forget. I'm a forgetful baby.
Second one was, so it was when, if, and then life. Am I
Life,
right?
life, am I right? And I feel
Yeah.
like just to um, apologies for the dogs banging the door. They just want to be inside this room. But I feel like even in that scenario, one of the biggest thing comes back to what can I control and what do I need to let go of. I feel like that's a really core strategy, solely because it has helped me a lot of times in life. I'm gonna break it down into three areas. What can I control? What can I influence? What do I need to let go of? What can I not control? What can I control? I'm going to spend 80% of my energy on those things, what I can control in the given moment right now. What I can influence without being afraid of, hey, is this going to change the end result or not? I don't know, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to spend 20% of my energy on scenarios like that. What I need to let go of, I'm not going to spend any of my energy. And I feel like that's where the struggle happens, is because what I need to let go of oftentimes feels like a challenge of, oh, you think I can't handle this? I'm going to give it a try and I'm going to make sure, yeah, you can handle it, but you're going to waste a lot of resources doing it. You're going to waste a lot of time, energy, and money trying to fix a situation which potentially might not even be applicable in the future. And here's what I mean about this. I'm going to give you guys a short example before handing this off to Kara. I feel like the best way to understand this concept for me was to understand the past, present, future. The present is something I can control, so I'm going to spend 80% of my energy on it. The future is something that I can influence without knowing if it will work out or not, so I'm going to spend 20% of my energy on it. The past is something that's already happened. I'm going to learn whatever I need to learn from it, but I can't change the past. It's done. It's out of my control. There's no point in being like, oh, if I had a time machine, I could go back and fix all my mistakes. You don't at the moment. There's no point spending your energy on that. There's no point on that. And so I need to let go of that. And I think that's where the entire concept comes in for me. Especially that's the biggest thing that has helped me kind of reel in my overthinking and get back to normal. So I'm going to hand this off to Cara. What do you have to say to that?
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. I love the bringing it to the past, present, and future, and where you can have the most control, because I think that's hugely impactful. So I want to talk about the present and how we can leverage how we're scheduling our days for that control. It goes to, I mean, life is going to life all over you, regardless of whatever plans that you make. That's what life does. It's life's job to do that. So how you schedule your day, how you schedule your week, how you schedule things makes a huge difference. And it goes back to what you were just talking about. So it starts with scheduling in you. You have to be the first thing you schedule in your day, in your week. You are the center of your universe, not the universe, but yours. So you have to drink water, get good sleep, take rests, eat well, spend time with people that make you feel good simply because they make you feel good. That's the first thing. We call those the rocks of reality, right? Then there's the stones of expectations. Now, since you are the center of your universe, but not the universe, you have to navigate your meat suit in a universe full of other meat suits. And to do that, you have to make and keep commitments to everyone else. So that's the second thing that you put into your calendar. After you've taken care of me, then I can take care of we, right? And when you've done that, that job and the work, the daily grind, the grit, the sands of time that holds our life together, the glue that allows the inertia from day to day to blend, that's going to fit in around all of that stuff. You're going to do it or you're not going to do it. But the more you put you, me, and then we at the top, the more you find what actually fits in that gritty space. And at the end of that, there's still room for the water of life. I call that the fix, the thing that makes the future xenial. Xenial's your $5 word for today. It means friendly. But if the future is xenial, if the future is friendly, it has to have that flow. It has to have that water, the option for life to life all over everything. And if you schedule your life that way, if you think about what you are doing every day, every week, every quarter, every year in those concepts, you can actually schedule out stress. It just goes away.
Love that, love that, love that. Ooh, anyone wants to add anything into this before we move on to the third point? Awesome. Yes, we are going to jump in really quickly with the third point, and then I'm going to leave with a question. Cara, what was the third point that we had? The third
The
stress
BS of life.
the BS of life. Once
Those
again,
belief systems.
yeah. I think that's a whole mindset journey. And we're definitely going to have a mindset coach come in there and talk to us about all of these BSs we have in life. But I feel like one of the biggest things that has helped me to get out of that stress really quickly, this is a really fast step, is this serving me in the future and in the present that I'm creating? If it is yes, awesome, I'm gonna keep at it. If it is no, I gotta change stuff. So that's my, I feel like that's a really snapshot version of me that helps me get out of the stress and the BS that I'm hosting. Is this helping me in the present and future that I'm creating? Is this serving me in that space? If it's a yes, yay. If it's a no, yeah. Awesome. Brenda has something to say. Cara, Brenda is an amazing NLP coach and mindset coach. So yes, Brenda, go for it.
I was going to add to what you were saying. There's a simple question that I think sometimes we don't recognize, that we carry so much burden from things that are not ours. And in any journey, if we begin by just asking the question, who does this belong to? Just even if it's a belief, even if it's an emotion, even if it's pain, what you're feeling right now, just asking yourself the question, who does this belong to, gives you a high level of clarity. So for example, if I'm in significant pain, all of a sudden I feel pain in my body, just asking myself, who does this belong to? Does this belong to me? Does this belong to another person? Or does this belong to something else? And whatever comes up for you, normally, if it is somebody else or something else, just by asking the question, you're going to feel that pain go down significantly. And what I do and I ask my clients to do is, then once you identify that it's not yours, then go ahead and with love and care and powerful energy, send it back to its owner. And then you repeat it with love and kindness. I send it back to the owner. With love and kindness, I send it back to the owner until you feel that complete relief in your body. Completely. It's extremely powerful. It's a question we don't recognize how powerful it is, because 80% or more of the things that we carry as ours are not ours. So if we're able to take that out first, just by pushing that aside, then you're able to be now present and focus on what it's really yours and you can control. So if you have a belief that it's kicking your butt, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, why is this so present? Is this mine? Is it somebody else? Something else? Oh, it's not mine. Good. Go back to its owner. Now I can live my life. If it's yours, now put the work in. Do the actions that you need to do to then fix it. But sometimes we spend so much time in managing or trying to solve things within ourselves that even starting, they weren't ours. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, because I think it's an extremely powerful question when it comes to belief, when it comes to thoughts, when it comes to behaviors, and you can just tone it down significantly just by asking that.
Ooh, love that, love that, love that. Cara, anything you want to add on to that before we move on to the question from Stefan?
Oh my God, no, I love that. I would say exactly the same thing, but of course in a different way, right? All the same, but different. So what I heard for both is slow down. Slow down first. I mean, be like a kid learning to walk, right? Take it real slow. Get real clear. Is this me? One of the great ways psychologically to understand whether this is a me BS that I built and created by myself, or if this was a gifted BS, somebody shared it with me and I internalized it, is to figure out whether that response happens first or second in your brain. So one of the things that psychologists have discovered is that programmed or groomed or trained or inherited belief systems become a first thought. Like you see a thing and you're like, oh, this is how I feel about it. And then a second voice pops up in your brain. You're like, actually, I don't really care that much about it. I'm not. That second brain is you. That first one is your pre-programmed, this is what society, my parents, my whatever that is telling me is the thing. The second one is who you really are. And getting used to listening to your second voice is going to empower your ability to understand who you really are. And when you really understand who you are, everything else starts to fall into alignment.
Love that. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I love that because I read that when I was a teenager and I was scrolling on Tumblr. That was one of the things that was told to me because I was so judgmental at myself for being judgmental at others. That's like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm just adding more energy. There's nothing happening outside of the space. So I absolutely love that. Like, if it's the first thought, oftentimes it's programmed. If it's the second, then it's us. Love that, love that, love that. Awesome. Because we are short on time, let's jump onto this question and then we're going to take questions from the room. If anyone has any more questions around leadership and stress, happy to answer them. The question that I had was, is all work stress bad? And no, if no, can we change the type of stress it is simply through our perception of the situation? I'm going to jump in really quickly with this because this is such a good question. Stefan, not all work stress is bad. And we spoke about this in the very start of this workshop about stress and productivity and all of the cool things that happens with stress. And yes, I think while there are two aspects of stress management, right? There is the aspect where you have stress relief. So you let go of all that weird ass energy in your body. That's stress relief. Then there is stress management, where you're working on the stressor. One of the biggest ways to work on the stressor is to change your perception or change the situation. What do I need to see differently with this particular stressor? If it is not your thought that needs to change, and if it is the situation that needs to change, how can I change the situation so that it works in my favor and in the favor of everyone else around me? So what can I change about the situation that it works for my favor without hurting anyone else, and then adding it to the big picture of what can I do to change the situation at a larger scale, which I feel is really, really important for leaders, and a good thought for leaders to have is, what can I do to shift this so that it's not only working for me but working for others? And perception, oh, that's a big thing. I often tell this. I'm gonna say this one quick thing and hand it off to you, Kara. But I often say this: when we are stressed out, we are looking at things from the base level. So the wall seems very big, right? We feel too small and the wall feels too big. When we take an eagle-eyed perspective of situations, that's when we realize, oh, that's just a stone. And there's like two, three walls and gaps here that or two, three gaps here that I can go out of. I don't need to climb over the wall. I just need to step aside. That is the shift of perspective, and that is really powerful. Because we get stuck in the tunnel vision when we are stressed out, having a team around you who can once again shine that light on you, shine that spotlight on you, and be like, is this what we're looking at? Because I feel like there are multiple ways we can get out of this. Having that supportive team that you created because you have a supportive culture, because you are caring and amazing leader, and I know you are, because if you're watching this, you are a caring and supportive leader, right? Know that that team can help you get out of that tunnel vision really quickly. It's like when you're searching for things, you can't find the thing, and then you're like, Mom, can you help me find the thing? Mom comes, it's right in front of you. You're like, I was searching for this for like the past hour, right? It's not mom magic, it's just tunnel vision. When we are searching too hard for the answer, we miss the answer. We start searching for this search for the answer, right? We are trying to find the answer without recognizing that the answer was right in front of us. So yeah, perception and situation can change. And a huge part of that comes into, do you have a supportive community or a supportive team that can help you get out of that space and help you look at things from an eagle-eyed perspective, and or help you figure out how to change the situation so that it works in everyone's favor.
I love that. I'm gonna answer this, and then I'm gonna disappear on all of you really fast. But thank you so much for coming. This was amazing. It was so hot. We might have to do it again. This was a good conversation. Yeah. So to Stefan's question, no. All stress is not bad. We already covered that. Absolutely. And is it as simple as a mindset shift? Often. I would say often, but not always. So here's where I'm going to caveat that and give you some languagey tools. So if your BS, if the stress that you are under is something that there's wrong with me, right? I'm not enough. I don't know enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not big enough. I'm not whatever thing that is, that there's something wrong with you that's bringing that belief system up. All you need is to play and gain a skill. It's really that simple. Have more fun and gain a skill. That's all you're doing. Learn the thing that gets you there. If you were discovering that the stress that you are under, the belief system is around somebody else, my boss isn't letting me, my team isn't letting me, they're not smart enough, them, you're pointing out, odds are you need to learn a new tool, because again, there's not enough duct tape on the planet, so you only get to control you. Find the tools that allow you to get what's going on in your brain into other people's brains so that you can get aligned. Learn a tool. And if it is a life thing, if it is, well, this is just how it's always been. This is how the business does things. This is how it is. It's a life BS. That's where a mindset shift comes in, because in that situation, you can grow into that fix. That's it. Because anything created can be recreated or uncreated. And all of life is a creation that we hallucinate together. And on that, thank you for hallucinating today with me. This was amazing. You all
Yes.
are incredible. Check out Bruno and Arena and I tonight on the Learn podcast. Look for that. And I got to go.
Yes.
Everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. One quick thing, Freedom Fiesta. Cara is there in that space. I would love to invite you to register for the event. It's a free event. For the time being, limited passes available. I've put the link in the chat. Feel free to jump on there. Thank you so much for being here. Before we jump off, one word takeaway from this entire thing. What was your one word about this entire workshop? Who wants to go first? or Bruno, Irina, Brenda?
Um, Enlightening.
Love that. Irina, how about you?
Oh my gosh, I can't put in one word, two words, different perspective, right? Because we all have our modalities, and it's interesting always to learn somebody else's way. And the way I usually look at it always come with the mind of the beginner, because we cannot know it all. Although we think we know it all, I love to come with an open mind, because I know in any space I'm going to be here to learn something great. And thanks so much for all the wisdom you provided today. It was very enlightening, as Bruno said, and very, very different from what I'm teaching.
Thank you so much for that. Ooh, love that. Brenda, one word takeaway from today's workshop.
Inner power.
Love that, love that, love that. Ooh, that's so good. Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. Bruno, Irina, Brenda, and anyone who's watching this. If you have any questions for us around the concepts of leadership and stress, leave them in the comments. On LinkedIn, on YouTube, I'll be posting this everywhere and tagging you guys as well, so you guys can check it out. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot to me.